Hello.
Yeah, that's way better. Okay.
Yeah. Hello. Like Mrs. Doubtfire.
Uh-huh.
Oh, God. Welcome,
Hello.
everyone, to
Welcome, girls
Girls Gone
gone spooky.
Spooky. Ooh, I'm Olivia.
And I'm Amy. And we're
And
back.
to and we're back. And today we are doing a bit of a catch-all theme. It is in the
Yes.
wild.
Mm-hmm.
So we're very excited because this is our last episode also before a brief hiatus that will take us through mid-April. And then we'll be back with 3 more episodes, which will finish out the season. Season 3 is almost over. I can't believe it.
I know. I can't believe that either.
I can't believe it. So this is our last
Wow.
normally programmed episode. I don't know why I did this with little creepy fingers. Beetle. But our last normally programmed episode, and then we're gonna have our. Did we announce our finale theme already?
I think vaguely, but not really.
Okay. Well, maybe we announce it at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
So
Let's do that.
Yeah. Let's do that. So we came across a few like miscellaneous in the wilderness kind of legends, haunting things. And so figured we just put them all in one episode because they all fall into this like wilderness kind of category. So without further ado, 3 overall, and I'm just going to jump right in. So the first one that I came across, and it is a part of Inuit mythology, and it is a being called a Kalupilluit, and it's super interesting because it's one of these like legends, I guess, or like entities where it's like, is this a legend or like a cautionary tale for children? Or I don't know, like a lot of the stuff that I've read from Indigenous people, Inuit people who were like commenting on like TikToks and Reddit posts and stuff like that, or just like online forums were like, yes, like the purpose of the legend is to keep kids safe around the water and also to keep them safe from these entities that are in the water. So it's like unclear. Yeah, it's like unclear where the danger is, or if, it's like kind of both things.
Yeah.
But there's actually a children's book that I came across in reading about this Kalupilluit. Wow, I'm going to say it wrong every time. Kalupilluit. I don't know why that's
say
so
it
hard
differently
to say.
every time, and
Every
then you'll get
single
it right.
time.
One of the times.
One of the times.
That's
David, send help. So there's this children's book, which apparently like terrified Indigenous kids who this was read to, and it's called A Promise is a Promise. And it's like a fairy tale, like textbook Hans Christian Andersen style, scare the shit out of your kids to keep them from doing dangerous stuff kind of story. But it's all about this Kalupilluit, or multiple of them. I don't know what the plural is, so I'm not even going to try. But essentially, they're creatures that live along Arctic shorelines near ice flows. And they're said to steal children that wander too close to the water. So at first I was like, okay, this is like a wailing woman kind of thing, but it's actually not at all. It's like a completely, like it's its own species of animal, if we can call it that.
Yeah.
And as a myth, it's believed to serve the purpose, as I said, of protecting children from a very dangerous environment, so keeping them from wandering too close to the ice. What's uber creepy is the way that it looks. So accounts of the appearance of the Kalupilluit, of course, differs across different tales and different areas where Inuit peoples live, or historically have lived. But there are definitely a few creepy ass commonalities. They sound a little bit like mermaids or sirens, because like when you hear their kind of strategy for luring kids, it's similar. They're not like that. They're not beautiful. They're not even like veiled as something beautiful. They're fucking gross looking.
Okay.
They're described as having green, slimy, scaly skin,
Ew.
long, greasy hair, long
Mm.
fingernails, and webbed hands. So, like an aquatic
Mhm.
animal
Yeah.
with scales and fins. They're also said to wear something called an omotic, which is an Inuit parka that's mostly worn by women because it has a big, like, kangaroo pocket, kind of.
Mhm.
So they're thought to wear these made of eider or eater duck feathers, some kind of duck feather that I think is like waxed to keep it water repellent.
Yeah.
And then they're used to carry the kidnapped children into the
Oh, great. Yeah.
really positive experience for
Uh-huh.
these kiddos. They're said to have two flippers. And I'm not sure if they meant flippers or like gills, honestly, because they say
Mhm.
that one can emit this like really shrill sound that will paralyze a child.
Oh,
So the
yeah.
idea is like there's some like discrepancies in like exactly what they do, but
Mhm.
essentially um, they sorry, I'm like skipping around a
Oh,
little
that's
bit in
okay.
my notes. Um, so they hunt along the ice floes. One strategy they use for hunting is to emit this ethereal hum that will like draw kids closer. Once they get close enough, they can pull them into the water just from the edge. They also can do like emit this like super shrill like paralytic sound, I guess, to kind of like incapacitate them so they can grab them, sometimes through the ice. Like if the ice
Whoa.
is thin enough, they'll break through the ice to grab the kid.
Oh, God.
So it's like very, very eerie.
Yeah.
And like I said, what happens like right away is like a bit like people don't always agree.
Mhm.
One version says that the child is devoured like on sight, just like eaten. Others say that they're held in this like paralyzed state, essentially, and used to fuel the youth of the Kalapilawit, because the idea is that children are their source of like immortality, essentially.
Okay.
So either they
Yeah.
eat them on sight for that purpose, or they like draw off their young energy over time.
Yeah. Yuck.
Very fucking creepy.
Yeah.
Allegedly, they are responsible for thousands of missing children, specifically in
Whoa.
Alaska.
Whoa.
And obviously, like, because it's known to be like legend or lore for the Inuit peoples, a lot of people are just like, no, no, like, this is just a cautionary tale, whatever. But the last thing I'll say on it, I don't have any like extensive stories to share. I couldn't find any, mainly because it feels a little bit like, I'm going to say it once and then I'm going to switch over to this other word, skinwalkers, which I came across the funniest replacement for that, since you're not supposed to say the word, which is flesh pedestrian.
Yeah. Amazing.
I was like, that's hilarious. We're using that.
Yeah. Forever.
I think they're a little bit like that, and that like in using their name kind of invokes them potentially. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, like I'm not around any ice flows currently, but
Yeah.
if you're in that area, you're not really supposed to talk about it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people on the internet claim that they saw their like now missing or dead sibling get pulled in by a Kalapilawit.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Scary.
Very creepy.
Ooh, weird.
So that is the Kalapilawit. And they also have, there's one other name that I will say, the Kalupalik is another spelling for it. It's spelled with a Q. So if anyone wants to look it up, it's Qalupiluit. Really creepy.
Yeah.
Really creepy. Not one I want to encounter. No, thank you.
No thanks. It sounds like
No, thanks.
the like swamp monster from
Yeah. No, literally.
like Kim Possible is the one that I'm
Yes. Oh
picturing.
my God. Yes.
Do you remember that episode?
I loved that episode.
Yeah, same. It's the one that has stuck with me the longest
Yeah.
after all these years.
Wow.
I need to
Also,
look up.
was Mojo Jojo in Kim Possible, or was that Powerpuff Girls?
I think that's Powerpuff Girls.
Okay.
What
Also
was
an
the
series.
Yeah, I can't remember the villain from Kim Possible right now, other than the girl, was Shigo.
Yeah, Shigo. Oh, it was totally Shigo. So funny, dude. Did you ever watch that one also cartoon Spy Girls? I think it was called, or Spies? Or no, Totally Spies is what it was
Oh,
called. Do you remember
maybe.
that one?
Was it on
Oh
Disney
man,
or
I think
which?
so. Disney or maybe Nickelodeon. I don't know, Cartoon Network. I'm literally listing the
Yeah,
only ones it could be, but
maybe
I'm
this.
not 100. Yeah, maybe one of those major three. Um, I don't remember, but it was really cute. It was like similar
Yeah,
to Powerpuff Girls, but more like realistic, kind of Barbie-esque animation.
yeah,
Anyway, it was cute as hell. I like distinctly remember watching those shows
yeah.
and just loving them. Loving them.
Totally
Oh my God.
Spies. That's so cute.
Totally Spies. I'm so proud of myself for remembering that that
Yeah,
was the name.
it came to you.
It came real quick.
Uh-huh.
Um, okay, and on a not so cute note, Dog
Okay.
Man.
Uh-oh. Yeah, he hasn't been in any Kim
Oh,
Possible
no,
episodes.
certainly not. Although he would make a good villain.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so we have touched on Dogman a little bit, I realize, but I think under a different name, which is the
Yes.
Beast of Bray Road.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go into a ton of detail about that. It was in one of our cryptid episodes. There's a book called The Beast of Bray Road with a ton of detail about this cryptid. It was written by Linda S. Godfrey, and basically compares what I'm about to talk about in Michigan to a similar creature that's been sighted in Wisconsin. So I'm not going to talk about the Wisconsin one so much, but we are going to talk about the Michigan Dogman. So,
Perfect.
the Michigan Dogman is a creature allegedly witnessed in 1887 in Wexford County, Michigan, in the US. It was described as a 7-foot tall, blue eyed or amber eyed, so kind of light eyed,
Mhm.
bipedal. Bipedal?
Yeah. I think we
Okay.
decided that.
Now every time I say it, I'm not sure.
But it is biped.
Bipedal? Yeah, so bipedal.
I've always said bipedal.
Me too. Let me
But
see.
you would never say he's a biped. It's a biped.
No. But maybe the addition. Hold on. Bipedal. Okay, it's bipedal, according to the internet. So bipedal. Wow, really getting off topic today. Okay. Blue or amber-eyed, light-eyed, bipedal canine-like animal with the torso of a man and a fearsome howl that sounds like a human scream. Yikes.
Spooky.
Very similar to like a werewolf.
Yeah.
I feel
Sounds like.
So yeah. According to legends, the Michigan Dogman appears in a 10-year cycle that falls on years ending in 7. So we've got 3 years of safety.
Okay.
And then
he's coming.
SOL. Yeah, he's coming. So if you want to go to Detroit for a little weekend, now's the time.
Yeah.
Sightings have been reported in several locations throughout Michigan, primarily in the northwestern quadrant of the Lower Peninsula, which I, to be honest, have no idea where exactly that is. Or I guess it's in Lake Michigan, the peninsula.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't even know which Great Lake. I'm guessing Lake Michigan, but
yeah, good guess.
What do I know?
Safe bet.
Yeah, safe bet. So as I said, like the first witnessed event was recorded event was in 1887. And the Dogman was really unknown to the majority of the modern world or even the US until very late in the 20th century. And it's said to have been stalking the area around the Manistee River since the days when the Odawa tribes lived there. So it actually does date back quite far, but didn't really come into like sort of pop culture, I guess, until the end of the 1900s. So, like I said, the first alleged encounter in 1887, I was going to say 87, well, it's the 1800s, so 1887 in Wexford County, as I said, when 2 lumberjacks saw a creature which they described as having a man's body and a dog's head. Yikes. Yeah. In 1937, in Paris, Michigan, Robert Fortney was attacked by 5 wild dogs and said that one of the 5 walked on 2 legs. Reports of similar creatures also came from Allegan County in the 1950s and Manistee and Cross Village in 1967. So all areas of Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So what's interesting is some of these, I thought it was funny because Paris, Michigan, because I feel like there's a Paris in every state in the US. But one of the first stories I came across about Dogman is from France, not Paris, France, but still from France. And I will say I have 2, let me see. I have 2 stories that feel pretty sure that it's Dogman or something very similar. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily in Michigan, but in the US.
Yeah.
The other 2, and that includes this one from France, are is it Dogman? Is it a werewolf? Is it a flesh pedestrian?
Ooh, hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully not. But I'm going to read them anyway because I feel like they're interesting and they're within the range.
Yes.
So this is from Tamion Valleyellis. Not going to spell it. From 2 years ago. And they said, I think I saw Dogman / a werewolf in rural France. So they start, I would like to say first that I've always believed in paranormal things, even though this was the first time I witnessed something supernatural. Also, English isn't my first language, so sorry for any errors. Nice.
Yeah.
So I, 18 male, live in northwestern France, specifically Normandy, and it's not a place with endless forests. It's flat and boring. And since I was a kid, I would stay for 2 weeks during the spring holidays at my grandparents' house in the Jura region of eastern France. French. The Jura region is a hilly place with a lot of forests and amazing wildlife, so it's the opposite of where I'm from. During my time here, I usually go deep into the woods to pick mushrooms and berries, and I've never seen anything weird. The animals you always see there are deer, foxes, badgers, wild boars, squirrels, rabbits, and very recently, wolves have been back in this area of France. If I remember correctly, it was May 2nd, 2022. And as I said, I was in the forest near the village of Guiron to pick berries. I was alone there and no one else was around, but that wasn't anything strange because it's a very sparsely populated area of France. The thing that felt strange was the fact that I didn't see any animals. No deer, no wild boar, no foxes, and it was silent. I'm not going to lie, I was starting to get scared because the silence was making me quite uncomfortable, but I decided to just keep picking berries because my mom wanted to make pie and I love her pie. So cute.
That's, so good motivation.
We're all the same. French, American, doesn't matter, right? We all love pie. Yeah. I was walking in the woods and I could see a clairière. I think the word in English is clearing. It definitely is. Yeah. And I was thinking about taking a break in this spot because I'd been walking for about an hour. And that was until I saw a very big and dark mass that was a bipedal creature that was standing in the clearing. I immediately stopped walking and was staring at that thing from behind the trees for maybe 20 seconds before running back to the village. It was very tall and hairy, probably 210 centimeters or 7 foot for Americans. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
It looked like a bipedal wolf or like a half dog, half human. I don't know if that thing saw me, but I did not put a foot in that forest since then. When I was back at my grandparents' house, I gave my mom the berries I picked and stayed in my room for the rest of the day. I did a lot of research about the wildlife in the Jura region to see if I'd seen some sort of rare animal, but no, what I saw was not an animal. Mm-hmm. While doing the research, I stumbled across a story from the 16th century. It's a story of a werewolf that was killing children in the village of Amange in Jura.
Whoa.
Even though Amange is pretty far from Guiron, it's still in the Jura area, so there's a possible connection. I was so freaked out by this discovery, but I really wanted to know more about werewolf stories in this part of France. So I watched a 2-hour-long video about women who were talking about what they saw in the Jura region. When I looked at the drawing that one of the women in the video had done, my heart stopped because it looked exactly like what I had seen.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I know that werewolves are a part of the Jura folklore, and there's even a celebration that takes place the last weekend of June to celebrate the story of the werewolf of Amange. Since this experience, I have not been able to sleep well at my grandparents' house because I feel like I'm being watched.
Mm.
The view from my window there is nothing but forest, so it's not very reassuring. I've been back in Normandy since May 9, but I'm thinking about it every single day, and now I kind of want to go back. I didn't tell anyone about the sighting yet because I don't want to sound crazy, and I don't have any pictures to prove that I'm not lying. What do you guys think? Am I crazy? And then he attaches some photos of the area, like where he saw this thing, and it's beautiful. And it's not really that like remote looking. Like there are photos of like cyclists on a paved road and like big grassy clearings with cows and troughs of water and food. You know, it's like not like, oh, you're in the middle of nowhere. That's so creepy. This would be like kind of coming into
a town.
Yeah, like a rural town for sure, but almost onto like farmland.
Yeah, so interesting. Oh,
I love that for you.
Ooh. Yeah. I wonder why it would be so close.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Getting hungry. I mean, it killed those kids in Amange, so
Ooh.
Looking for some déjeuner, some lunch.
Delicious.
Okay. Delicious. Okay, next one. So this is a comment actually from a prompt from a user who's since deleted. But they said, those of you who camp or spend a lot of time in the wilderness, what are some strange experiences you've had? So this is creepy. This is from Trigger 1154. So he says, I'm an outdoorsman, very experienced in hunting, camping, hiking, general survival. I'm very familiar with and used to wildlife. But I believe I was charged by what I believe is a cryptid called the Dog Man, as it charged at me and my cousin. It was not a bear, as a bear cannot move how it did, and it was not a normal wolf, as they can't comfortably run on two legs, whereas what charged us seemed very natural at doing that. So they said, I can elaborate further if you wish. And people were like, yes, elaborate. Elaboration. So he says, this happened around June or July of 2007, I believe. I was around 17 years old and much more cocky then than I am now, but still somewhat knowledgeable of the outdoors. My family used to own a cabin in northwestern Wisconsin, and I basically grew up there in the summer. I knew the woods well, but at night it was wise to stay in the cabin or at least by the bonfire by the beach because of bears, wolves, and cougars. One of the creepiest things was if you were having a bonfire, the tree line was visible from the fire pit and beach, and at night you always kind of felt like you were being watched from that tree line. But during the day, the woods always seemed normal, not creepy, but that was until, of course, this incident. So this happened somewhere between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Me and my cousin were having an airsoft battle, I guess airsoft guns.
Yeah.
And I was in full woodland camo. I was like,
nice.
Nice. He was not.
Okay.
It's like, all right, you're really like taking this seriously. Right. So I retreated onto the ATV trail into the woods for a tactical advantage. And our battle took us about 200 meters in to about a third of the way up the trail. We'd had enough at this point. We're standing at the edge of the clearing on the trail just talking, and he was maybe, 10 feet from me. When I decided to mess with him, I shushed him and said, we're being watched. So he froze. And then I realized the woods were actually dead quiet, and I got kind of scared and started scanning the tree line and the other edge of the clearing from left to right when I saw it. Its teeth gave it away as it was panting and staring at my cousin. I honestly don't expect you to believe me, but what I saw was a wolf as big as a black bear, at least 300 pounds, but it was not normal. This wolf was on two legs, crouching next to the tree with its arm grasping the tree with a clawed hand. It had reddish brown fur. And I told my cousin, we have to go. And next thing I know, he's sprinting. And I'm looking back at Wolfie, who had locked on and sprinted a few steps on 2 feet So I turned and ran when it looked like Wolfie was dropping to all fours and it charged us. It sounded like it was right on our asses, barreling through the brush
Whoa.
and Bruce. And
Bruce.
for whatever reason, it let us go when we broke out of the tree line and headed for the cabin. What stuck with me was the sheer size of it. It appeared to be nearly 7 feet tall when upright, and that where it should have had front paws, it appeared to have large clawed hands.
Ew. Oh no.
So that's creepy.
Yeah. No
Now,
thanks.
not yeah. Now I'm not sure how to explain it away rationally. So I've heard wolves will occasionally walk upright, but as far as I know, they can't run on two legs, nor do wolves ever get that big. And black bears more like waddle on two legs. The closest
That's true.
description is so silly, a werewolf or a dog man.
Oh,
All right.
outfit change.
Outfit change. Okay, so basically our tech did not work yesterday, and
Yes.
we are refilming part and then finishing the rest. So let's
Yes.
hope today goes a little bit better. Please go
Yeah.
better.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. So Amy is going to do her best to react differently, maybe, to
Oh
this
my
round.
god.
Here we
Whoa.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Practicing.
Okay, good. Okay, so where we last left off was a story about Dogman slash maybe some sort of like flesh pedestrian or a werewolf. Who knows? But Dogman is the theme,
Yes.
as a reminder. Okay, well, not the theme, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
What we're currently talking about. God, not off to a good start. Okay, I'm
We
just going
got
to keep
this.
going.
Mhm.
This story is from Sergeant Carrero, and they say, "Howdy, y'all. My family has a fairly strange relationship with the dogmen in the southeastern region of the US. I've always lived in Maryland, but my family originally started off in Louisiana. My family were, as my grandpa put it, carny entrepreneurs, carnival entrepreneurs.
Love
And they
it.
say that's the best way I can put his accent into text. LOL. Anyway, our family arrived from Cuba and started our little carnival act, which I'm happy to say isn't still in action, around 1898. They would travel throughout the South performing and doing work on defunct plantations and farms. That alone, I don't think I would want to do anything on a defunct plantation,
No.
let
Just
alone performance art.
no. Yeah, that's a bad energy zone.
Bad juju.
Yeah.
Bad
No.
juju. During this time, my great, you get the point, grandfather came into contact with a local Native American tribe. He never really talked about it, but shortly after, my family started having contact with dogmen. My grandfather, back when they were still traveling with the carnival, talked about them seeing the beasts walking around their camps at night. He has a bunch of stories that I may or may not post later as he suffers from dementia, so you kind of have to take them with a grain of salt. But my dad worked for a while in the telephone industry putting up poles, and he was up doing maintenance one night on Gambrel Mountain. As he was driving back down the mountain, he saw 3 dogmen running alongside his truck, staring at him through the windows.
No.
No.
Mm-mm. 3 of them.
My 3 of them. That's too many.
Yeah.
It's 3 too many.
Yeah.
My experiences are a bit more involved. I've been hunting in the mountains around where I live for quite a while now, and every time I head out, I see one of them. Every time.
That's crazy.
So often.
Yeah.
Like assuming they hunt relatively often, at least once or twice a year. That is very often.
Yeah.
That's so scary.
Yeah.
Typically, they're off in the distance or just walking around the riverbanks, fetching water. I wanted to know if anyone has any sort of explanation as to why they seem to be following my family around, or if anybody has similar stories. I have heard they can be violent if provoked. I personally haven't seen them hurt anything or anyone, but I definitely wouldn't put it past them. And what's interesting to me from this one is the connection to like the indigenous, because that's like not something I had come across before that. But then again, flesh pedestrians also have that connection. So
Right.
it kind of does make some sense.
Yes.
They had a good visual too in the comments. They talk about, because someone was like, can you describe like exactly what they looked like? And the original poster said, imagine the dire wolves from Game of Thrones standing hunched over on their hind legs.
Yeah, that's spooky. I want to look up dire wolves right now.
They're so
They're
grande.
huge, right? Yeah.
They're huge. They're like almost
Okay.
as tall as a person.
Yeah, crazy.
Just on all fours. So standing, yeah, they'd be like 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
So freaking
Yikes.
creepy. And then he also mentions, because he's like, I've done some research about like where dogmen specifically come from, and it seems like they're sort of from folklore in like almost every US state minus the Dakotas, which is so interesting because like what we've read is like almost exclusively to Michigan and Wisconsin.
He's looking
Our mascot
so cute.
is being real cute right now. Clingy boy.
Yeah.
Very clingy boy. But yeah, he's saying like, and a lot of those legends, like not specifically the Michigan Dogman or the Beast of Bray Road from Wisconsin, but Dogman as like a general thing is very similar to the Rougarou in Louisiana, and also the Maryland indigenous have a beast called a Dwyo. So it seems like maybe Michigan and Wisconsin are just kind of out of the loop that this is like totally an indigenous thing, and they just didn't know, and they thought they were the first to experience it.
Yeah.
So just like an interesting little angle.
Mm-hmm. Very.
Okay. So the last one I have about the Dogman is from Oregon. So it's on the Oregon coast this was 2 years ago from a deleted user, so I don't have their name. But they say, I've heard of this sort of thing, but only briefly. I've never really thought much of it, nor have I ever done any extensive research into this, but I figured this would be a good place to start. I'm cross-posting my story from the Dogman subreddit. So if you really want to go deep in, there's a full ass subreddit for that.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. This is a really odd story of how I came to see a literal dogman a few nights ago around midnight. I live in a neighborhood, by the way, but we are on the edge of a large forest behind our house. So not completely rural, but also still in a forested area. Funny-ish part of the story. So I set a live trap for a mouse last night. I do catch and release as I can't stand to harm them. And it triggered at midnight with a loud pop, which woke me up. I decided I didn't really want to leave it in the cage overnight waiting for morning because I could hear him trying to chew through the wires and didn't want him to hurt himself trying to get out. Like, so sweet. Like empathetic towards this little mouse, which I would be like, nice. Let it suffer. No, I don't think I would.
I don't know. You wouldn't.
But no, I wouldn't. I would be horrified. Yeah. But I probably would just let it out right outside. But this person does not do that.
Yeah.
So he says, I decided to take him outside immediately, but instead of releasing mice in the yard by my house, I always go about 3 miles away into a forested area. And they explained the reason for that being like, I don't want to release it next to someone else's house and then it's their mouse problem. So
nice person.
Okay. Yeah, very nice person. Before I even got in my car to transport the little mouse, my stomach began hurting like never before. I had a horrible foreboding feeling that was almost telling me something terrible was about to happen. Mm-hmm. There was literally no reason for my stomach to just suddenly start screaming in pain, and I essentially never have stomach problems like this. I kept getting this deep sense of something being wrong. So I got into the car anyway with this little cage, and going down the street, I was literally 1 block away from my home, and I slammed on the brakes because of something enormous at the side of the road. At first, I thought, well, that's got to be the tallest dog I've ever seen. Its silhouette was blacker than the night, and as I slowed my car from maybe 20 miles per hour to 10, it suddenly came out into the street light and walked across the street in front of my car. It wasn't running, but it wasn't really going slowly either. And I suddenly realized it was no ordinary dog. I also knew it wasn't a bear because it didn't have much of a belly. It was very skinny and lanky, 3 to 4 times the size of a wolf. So like bear sized, but not bear shaped.
Yeah.
But I can confirm it was not a wolf because obviously way too big. What I saw looked like a humanoid literally hunched over on all fours with its back erect in a hunch, moving with quite some pace across the road. The head was distinctly wolf-like and also enormous, literally looked like a giant wolf head. It was it had jet black fur, really as black as hair can get, and the legs were very lanky. My brain froze, and instantly I tried to start rationalizing, but it was pretty impossible to do that given what I was looking at. The closest thing I can compare this to would be the werewolf from Harry Potter, aka Professor Lupin.
Mhm.
And he links a photo, which like just really cracks me up because when you hover over the link, like in Google Docs,
Mhm.
it shows that photo of Professor Lupin, linking to the story. So I was like, that's pretty good.
Uh-huh.
And the author here jokes like, how did they know? Because it's like almost identical to what this thing looked like. And if you've seen that movie, it is really very creepy. Like it is a very, very lanky, tall, like thick backed but skinny
Yeah.
looking creature. It's very
Mhm.
creepy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, very creepy. So it goes on to say on all fours, just up to measuring up to its back was probably 4 to 4.5 feet in height. The head,
Mhm.
obviously being higher, was easily around 5 feet. And then they iterate like again, there's no way this was a bear or some other like quote unquote regular animal we're familiar
Mhm.
with as humans. And there was nothing familiar about it apart from like bits and pieces. So to anyone who might say maybe it was just a really big dog that was sick, like definitely no.
No.
It was one of the largest animals I've seen, to be over 4 feet in height at the back, not even the head, while hunched over. Definitely not a dog, and impossible to be a bear as bears are not this skinny.
Mm.
So the humanoid aspect of it could also not really be denied. And you could tell that if it wanted to, it could have easily stood up on two legs, which is really like what a distinct like characteristic, because you can tell that like an animal that is on all fours that could very easily stand, like their body is structured
Yeah.
differently.
Yep.
So it's, ugh.
Yeah.
um
Very true.
and then they continue to say, what's more insane is that I could feel its energy. The energy was dark, oppressive, and really just, I had this sense of like danger that swept over me. It had a very otherworldly energy about it. So, to continue with the story, I slowly continued driving and quickly looked over to the left side of the road as I was passing to see where it had gone. I was able to see its silhouette by a bush looking back at me as I passed.
No.
I didn't want to stop. I was scared. So I went on with my mission to release the mouse. But I can tell you this, when I got home, I ran into my garage and shut that door as quickly as possible. I was panicked, truly, truly terrified. So, anyway, when you know what you know what you saw, as they say. And I also know my mind did not just fill in the blanks or hallucinate this, it was far too specific. That night, I did look up stories of dogmen, only to find that people's descriptions and drawings were almost identical to what I had witnessed. And I don't know what are the odds of that. So now I'm pretty convinced it's real. And I never thought in my wildest dreams I would ever see something like this. So, of course, then people like, he asks, like, how common is this in Oregon? Because I'm sure he was
Mhm.
reading, like, oh, um, it's from Wisconsin or it's from Michigan or whatever.
Yeah.
Some people do comment that, like, could it have been Sasquatch? Because, like, there's also
Mm.
no reason why Sasquatch couldn't, like, walk, or
Mhm.
crawl, I guess, on all fours. Because that is much more common to, like, that lore is much more common to Oregon. But
Mhm.
anyway, just
Yeah.
overall, very spooky.
Interesting. Yeah, I hadn't
Yeah.
thought about that
No,
being
I hadn't either.
Sasquatch.
Yeah, and I don't think I mentioned that yesterday when we
Mm-mm.
recorded this the first time either. But I thought the thing that was interesting too is that sense of like foreboding is
Mhm.
also very flesh pedestrian-y.
Yes, that's right.
So I don't know,
Yeah.
it's weird because it's like some have indigenous overlap, some have that like gut like ugh, like
Mhm.
dread feeling.
Yeah.
Um and then others just don't seem to have that, and people are just like baffled by
What
what
they
is
saw.
this like
Yeah.
creature in front of me. So
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a very weird one because it makes you wonder if like, is it possible that Sasquatch, Yeti, Bigfoot, Rougarou, Dwyo, werewolf, wolfman, like what if they're
Mhm.
all flesh pedestrians?
Right. That is weird to think
Ugh, I hate it. I hate it.
they're they're all
I
living
hate
in
it.
their underground tunnel system that they
Ooh.
can like bounce from one place to
Literally.
another.
And also it sort of implies, I mean, despite the origins of, like, according to indigenous lore, despite the origin stories of flesh pedestrians, they, it's almost seems like they're procreating
Mm-hmm.
if
Yeah.
they're like everywhere, unless they're just like kind of ancient at this point and are just
Right.
immortal, which I don't
Yeah.
know which I prefer. I don't like either.
Yeah, no. I don't like either.
No. And ancient evil seems worse to me.
It does. Yeah, same. But
None of it seems good, but
no.
like ancient evil somehow seems worse, more powerful maybe.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine a little baby Sasquatch
Right.
or a dog
Right.
man,
Right.
and they'd
But
be
also that implies that they're born. But what if
right,
they're made?
created. Yeah.
Which is really creepy. Like
Mm-hmm.
if they or people like willingly become one, because that would
Oh,
be more in
yeah.
line with like indigenous lore. Ugh.
Interesting.
The whole thing's creepy as shit.
Yeah, very. Hmm.
So that's the dog man and all of
Wow.
my conspiracy theories about what it's like conspiracies of conspiracies,
Uh-huh.
which is our specialty.
Yes. We dig deep here.
We dig
That's
real
for
deep.
sure.
Okay, and then my last one. I feel like this is so funny because this is our second time recording this, and we were already going to record Amy's separately today. So I feel like I have just been talking at her for 2 days. So we're almost there. Okay,
No, I love it.
Oh God. Okay. Last story. Okay. This is from a user called Mia Plays Tips, and this was posted just 1 month ago. So they say, true story of my encounter with an unknown figure. This is a departure, by the way, from the dog man, and I'll actually lead with what this user speculates that they saw.
Mhm.
And it is something called the Deb, which is a creature known among the people of Mazandaran, which is a province in the northern part of Iran. They live in the woods, run really fast, can be invisible. They're very tall, have
Interesting.
a large body of a dark color. It sounds like they're not easy to like make out the details of what they look like because they're typically seen like from afar. And the narrations, of course, differ in terms of what it looks like. But it's believed that when someone goes out in the woods alone, either during the night or right at dawn, the Deb can attack them. And once they wake up from this attack, so it doesn't seem like it kills them, but it does something, like steals energy or something. Because once they wake up, they tend to feel confused, crazy, or even lose their ability to speak.
Whoa.
In some stories, people are able to get away from the Deb by using a sharp weapon or even saying prayers. But it's also believed that you can get very rich if you steal the Deb's hat, which can bring wealth, good fortune, not just to you, but to everyone in your family and for generations, and will also protect you from harm by the Deb. So
Oh,
it's this weird crossover between like a shadow person or maybe Hat Man and like
Mhm.
a genie or a djinn or just something creepy
Yeah.
like a flesh pedestrian. I mean, it's like a weird thing. And this is really our first Middle Eastern thing,
Topic.
like
Yeah.
creature. So it was just like I kind of stumbled upon it and it's obviously very new. So
Yeah. Interesting.
I will get to the story here. So
Okay.
they say, this is a real story of my experience with something unknown that left me shaking for days. I'll try to make it short, but I don't want to leave out details. So, my name is Baman, and I'm 20 years old from a small village in northern Iran, up in a mountainous area that is surrounded by a large forest. And I said this yesterday, I'll say it again. I had no idea what the geography of Iran looked like. So, like, didn't know there were large forests. Now I know.
Yep.
So thanks, Bauman.
It's a lesson.
So they say, yeah, the story is from about 2 years ago when I was 18. It was a partly cloudy day, and I was going to go for a walk in the forest like I do every day. The main path of the forest crosses behind my house, so it's not like it's a long walk, but it does go straight and kind of deep into the forest. It's a dirt road with trees around as far as you can see. And I was leaving the house a little bit later than usual, as it was around 5:30 or 6 o'clock. So it was getting dark, but because I was so familiar with the path, he walks it every day, I wasn't worried and was thinking, I'll be back soon, so I'm just going to go for it. So I was about 20 minutes into the walk and it was getting darker by the minute. And I got to a part of the path that's a straight road for about 1,000 feet. So you can sort of see the end of this stretch of the road. And as I was slowly walking down the road, I realized that there's a figure standing at the end of the road, which really just looked like a black thing standing there. And it was really dusk at this time. So I wasn't entirely sure what I was looking at, especially from a distance. And my first thought was maybe it's a cow because they live in a village. And so a lot of people have farms and sometimes they let their cows out in the woods, but usually it's in a big group. So my first thought was like, why is this cow by itself? And also, why is it not moving at all? Because it was just standing there frozen. So I don't know exactly why I didn't stop and turn around. Maybe it was curiosity, or I didn't want to look like a total pussy if it was some kind of prank or some guy from the village standing there. So I don't really know what I was thinking in that moment. I just remember looking at the thing and deciding to just keep walking. But it really did creep me out, especially because it just was not moving, not an inch. So it was getting scarier and scarier as I was getting closer to it because I was starting to see more of a shape. It was clearly not a cow. It was a tall figure with long, skinny legs. And at one point, I think I saw maybe a third leg or a stick in its hands. I don't know exactly because it was very blurry, even though I was getting closer. So I kept walking and still not knowing what I was looking at. And my heart just felt like it was coming out of my mouth. And I stopped maybe 60 feet. I like their phrasing because it's clearly like English is not their first language, but like my heart in my throat, but like my heart coming out of my mouth.
Out of my
like
mouth.
I felt that sensation before.
Yeah.
It's very relatable.
It's a good description.
Yeah. So I stopped maybe 60 feet in front of the figure. And when I first read this, I was like, that's too close.
Yeah. Extremely
that is
too close.
Way too close. That's like hundreds of feet too close.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at it, standing still, not moving at all. And I didn't have the courage to say anything to it. I just remember thinking, fuck this. So I turned around and walked away. And as I was walking back, I was constantly looking back over my shoulder, very paranoid of seeing it move towards me. But every time I looked, it was just standing there, still not moving, but getting further and further in the distance and finally out of sight as I was walking away. So at this point, it's almost completely dark outside and I'm continuing down the path. And after a few turns, I start to calm down because I'm like, it's not behind me. I left it behind. Like that was just so creepy and weird, but like, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to keep walking. And so I take out my phone and I'm starting to fiddle with it. And I'm thinking maybe I'll call a friend just to talk with them until I get home. But just before I open my phone to dial it, I decide I'm going to look back one more time. And I wish I did not do that because I saw something that will traumatize me for life, still makes my hand shake from fear to this day. I saw that black, blurry figure standing still in the middle of the road, staring at me about 50 feet behind. No. That gives me full body goosebumps.
Yeah.
And it like not being there and then suddenly being there. Like,
yeah.
No.
It's unacceptable.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes me think too about like the, well, first of all, you can totally see how this horror movie would be filmed. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Where it's like panning to the side and then they look back and it's like right there.
Yeah. Oh, I can picture that.
God. But it also makes me think like going back to the initial description of the Deb as like a piece of folklore is it only attacks at night or just at dawn. Mm-hmm. And this is dusk. So it's like, was it like waiting?
Yeah. For that person specifically?
Or like to get him at nightfall?
Yeah.
Like, I hate it. Hate it.
Yeah. Ugh.
No. So he turns around. He's the Deb. He turns around, sees it like 50 feet behind, and he was like, I'm not sticking around to see if it comes toward me. I run for my life. I run as if I stop, I will die.
Yep.
So he says, I didn't look back once. I sprint home. I'm shaking all over and I was terrified. He says his family was worried too. And after I told them what happened, they, of course, were like, you must have been hallucinating. But he says, I could tell from their eyes that they were also very scared and stunned by that experience. So they say, I've never experienced anything like that since, and I don't mention it ever. This is my first time outside of my family, but that experience will forever be in my mind and will forever haunt me. And then they say, P.S. My biggest regret is that I didn't film it or get a picture of it when I was walking towards it in the first place. And everyone in the comments is like, why? You wouldn't have thought to do that.
Yeah,
like,
no.
There's just no reason to do that. So
yeah, you're like in fight or flight mode.
Literally,
Seeing something like that.
So scary. So
Yeah.
I think that's a sign we need to do more Middle Eastern stuff because I feel like that shit's really scary.
Yeah. I can't believe we haven't done that yet or had a themed episode about that.
I know. I also feel like that's such an old part of the world, you know, that, and there's so much like religion based there as well, like historically, which I feel like could make for some really creepy shit.
Yeah, definitely.
So anyway, that was take 2 of my stories in the wild.
Great job. I loved it. It sort of reminded me the appearing suddenly behind someone.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a video and I was watching it like right before I had a meeting, so I didn't have time to send it to you, and now I can't find it anymore. But it was this guy who was like, I sent this Snapchat to my friend or whatever, and he showed what he was filming, and there's like a whole person that's not there standing behind him all of a sudden, and then it disappears. And it was so scary. And I was like, I have to send this to Olivia, and then I can't find it.
Okay, I'm going to go hunting for it, and we'll share it on our Instagram stories. Yeah. That's really freaking creepy.
Yeah. He was working at a diner or some sort of like restaurant situation. It was late at night. He was by himself.
Ew. I hate the context. I really hate that context.
And he was in Appalachia.
So, my dad will come for us if we say it wrong again. He was like, really? Appalachia? I was like, listen.
That's what I've always been taught is Appalachia.
Me too.
So
that's because we're not from Appalachia.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
sorry guys.
Appalachia. Sorry about that.
Appalachia. Sorry.
Yeah, he was there. Yeah.
Ew. So like Skinwalker vibes? I mean, pedestrian vibes?
Yeah. It looked very demon-y. Like, but human.
Yeah.
But
human
just like
looking.
weird face. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm going to find it. I'm on a mission to find it. Yeah. So we will share it. But did you see the one? Well, I posted it on the Spooky Girls Insta, but the one of the like Uber Eats driver, like, oh, let me take a picture, like to show the food got delivered. And then it's like, there's a guy there.
No, I don't think so.
Send it to you. It's so funny. Okay. It's like a jokey one. And it's like, oh my God, there's a guy there. And he's like, what do you mean? Let me see. And he like shows it to the person who just got the food delivered. And they're like, okay. And he's like, let me take it again. She's like, okay, yeah. And he's like holding up the bag, smiling, takes it again. And this time the guy's like,
oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think I do remember that. That's funny.
That really cracked me up. Yeah. Like it was not actually scary, but it was just very funny to me.
Good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. I had that happen recently with a delivery that I was outside when they came and they were like, I have to take a picture. So I was like well, because he handed me the box.
Yeah,
so it was
and you're like
with the box.
You put it down, I guess.
A pose. Yeah. So definitely received.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's so freaking funny. I love
Yeah.
it.
Amazing.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
Amazing.
Okay. Well, let's get back to the wilderness.
Yes.
So,
into the wild.
Yes. I looked this up in our doc, so hopefully we haven't talked about it. I was kind of surprised that we hadn't. Because we have episodes all about the Bermuda Triangle, but I don't think we've talked about the Alaska Triangle very much.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah. So apparently
we had kind of an Alaskan theme this week.
That worked out beautifully. But apparently there are a few triangles, which kind of implies just a mysterious zone where things are weird, people disappear, things like that. So Alaska has one, and just for the skeptics right off the bat, Alaska's geography obviously plays a role in some of these things because it's remote, it's cold, dangerous, whatever. So that obviously is a contributor, but people also have other theories, including paranormal ones. So, that's us. So, the deal with this area is that more than 16,000 people have disappeared in this triangle just since 1988.
I'm sorry, how many?
16,000 people.
Oh my God. That is way too many people.
Yeah, far too many. They wrote, to put it another way, that's roughly 4 out of every 1,000 individuals in Alaska and more than double the national average.
That's what I was going to ask, is what's the national average?
Yeah.
That's hella people, dude.
Yeah. So something's going on. And
yeah, truly.
I feel like a lot of the hikers that go missing, maybe that makes sense. Like, tragically, you get lost.
Adventurers,
whatever. Yeah. And even if you're experienced, things can go wrong. But, the thing that put this area on the map really was in 1972. There was a small passenger plane that completely disappeared en route from Anchorage to Juneau. And the reason that this particular disappearance caught people's attention, even though there had been other plane crashes and incidents like over this area, is because this flight was carrying U.S. House Majority Leader Hale Boggs.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah. So when...
Also, wait, the last 2 weeks, you're talking about U.S. reps getting just murked.
Wait, what did I talk about before?
Jonestown.
Oh, yeah, I did. Okay.
It's not funny. The death of a government official is not funny. No. But, just a weird coincidence.
It is a weird coincidence.
Amy she's locked in to this.
Trying to send a message. I don't know what it is, but maybe you'll figure it out.
Call your local representatives, everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's what it is.
Make sure they're okay. Check in on them.
Yep. Tell them not to go on any tiny planes.
They're like, are you calling about Roe v. Wade? No, I'm just making sure you're good. Like, are you taking care of yourself?
I want to see how you're doing.
Don't go on any little prop planes anytime soon in Alaska, okay?
Maybe they'd appreciate it.
Or to a remote part of, where is it?
Guyana. Yeah. Probably not. But so that's a weird coincidence. But
sure, coincidence.
Coincidence. But so they disappeared, and when officials in Washington found out that they were gone, they launched a massive search and rescue effort. It covered 325,000 square miles, and at the time was the largest search and rescue effort in U.S. history, and they never found anything, no evidence of the plane, no wreckage, none of the people. It's disappeared. Yes, weird.
Is this area over water or is it forest
No,
or both?
it's wilderness. So yeah,
Ooh, that's
forested.
weirder to me.
Yeah, because
Because water, okay, fine, like currents and like the Bermuda Triangle, like there's some of that you're like, okay, I mean, kind of
yeah,
makes sense, but
yes,
how, like,
yeah.
where would it go?
I know it would be sitting somewhere, and maybe there's a lot of tree cover, but I don't know. I feel like you would see debris,
Well, an
like
evidence of it being disturbed, the
yeah,
tree cover.
exactly.
What?
Yeah. So very strange. And here's another conspiracy theory.
Oh, yeah,
So,
hit me.
of course, after this, there were conspiracy theories coming up. Um,
Yeah.
one was pertaining to Boggs' membership on the Warren Commission, which was set up by Lyndon B. Johnson to investigate JFK's assassination.
Oh, shit.
And he had a dissenting opinion on the commission's report, pointing to a lone
Mm.
assassin. So he believed there were multiple people
Oh.
involved. And all these conspiracy theorists were thinking, okay, he was like looking into something that he shouldn't have been,
Yeah.
and they disappeared him purposefully.
That that gives me chills. I That's really creepy to me because
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like one of my like weirdest fears is like learning information that I should not have learned and then you can't like
Unlearn
I
it.
won't tell.
Yeah.
Like they don't
Right.
care. The
Mm-hmm.
government doesn't care.
Yeah.
So if it
True.
was like some involvement, like because maybe he stumbled upon something that showed like LBJ was involved or
Right.
another government official,
Yep.
that's dangerous information.
Yes. Yeah.
I
And that would,
love it and I hate it.
yeah, that could explain if they didn't find anything, any wreckage or any
Mhm.
evidence. Like,
Yeah,
who better to cover something up
right.
than the government?
Totally.
So
Yeah.
we're getting into
Wow,
dangerous
wow, wow.
territory here.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Okay, we don't believe that though. It was
No,
just the one guy.
yeah, not at all. Yeah. Hmm.
Don't look away. Look away, government.
let's move on.
Let's
So,
move on.
yep. We'll get to the paranormal now. So,
Yes.
one prominent theory regarding the Alaska Triangle and the numerous disappearances come from a strange report that was made to the Federal Aviation Administration in 1986. So, this report claimed that Japan Airlines Flight 1628 had encountered three unidentified aerial phenomena, aka UAP, aka UFOs. Our favorite. Aliens! They're back.
Yes.
So, the pilot of this flight reported that they had the three UFOs like
Mhm.
surrounding them. He thought that it was military planes.
Makes sense.
Before, right, he realized that the objects were keeping pace with the plane and like moving around it in erratic motions while emitting bursts of light. So,
Aliens.
yeah, aliens for sure. um,
Aliens. We love
and
it.
yeah, later on, these claims from the pilot were verified by civilian and military radar, which led a lot of people to be like, oh, well, there's a lot of disappearances in this area. What if the aliens are involved?
Aliens.
Aliens. So I don't know, that maybe is a little silly, but he did see UFOs. So there's something. So, in addition to aliens, other theories that surround the mystery of this area include energy vortexes and also a creature known as the Kushtaka.
Ooh.
So, starting with the Kushtaka, it is, I think this is how you say it, Tlingit or Lingit, and I should have looked this up, Shimshian people.
Okay.
They both have T's at the start and
Okay.
then another consonant, so it's
Ah,
not
a
a
little tricky.
familiar pronunciation.
Yeah.
So they believe that these Kushtaka are otters that are shapeshifters. So,
Ooh.
yeah, they just say some otters are shapeshifters that look like men, but these creatures have an evil purpose, which is to trap their victims' souls and prevent them from reincarnating after death.
Oh, shit. Oh,
Yeah.
that's dark.
Yeah, it
It's not
is.
even like, I'm gonna kill you. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna doom you for eternity,
Yeah,
bitch.
you're gonna suffer forever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Mhm.
Love that.
Yeah. So the full legend is basically this, that a person is walking through the village or hunting in the woods or fishing in the sea, and a man or a group of men approach you. These men look just like kinsmen, and you don't have a clue that they're really the Kushtaka. In some cases, these malevolent creatures appear when you're lost or injured and claim that they intend to rescue you. However, they lead you deeper into the wilderness and either tear you into pieces or turn you into a Kushtaka, which prevents your soul from being able to reincarnate. So, could go either way.
Like revenge on an innocent for what happened to you kind of vibe.
Yes, kind of, yeah, exactly. So,
Neither sound good. I don't like either of those outcomes.
No. And it also noted that they might lure you toward them by screaming or making noises that sound like women or children in distress.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah.
Hate that. Any creature, just don't.
Yeah.
Like,
Because how could you not go towards that sound?
I know. Same with flesh pedestrians. It's like such a bait and switch.
Yeah.
The worst ever bait and switch.
Yeah, the worst in history. Yeah. So I don't know. But that was that sort of folklore-y, legendy part. But the other theory that they mentioned was an energy vortex. And this, so I was trying to look this up right before this, and I didn't find any like real scientific explanation for what it is. Although I think that people can acknowledge that certain parts of our Earth have stronger energy fields, like electromagnetic fields, whatever it might be. Including actually in the Alaska Triangle, it's known there that sometimes whatever force is at work there makes compasses be off by like 30 degrees at times. So like significantly off.
And only sometimes?
I don't know. That's how the article that I wrote was written, but I don't know. It could.
Oh my God. Because that's a mind fuck. Like, at least if it's consistent, you can know where you're going. But if it's not, I mean, that's a big margin of error.
Yeah. Huge. Which, that could explain.
Getting lost in the woods in Alaska. Like, no thanks.
Yeah, no. I'll skip that. But
Kushakas, bears.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very concerned about bears.
There's not really anything good to encounter in the Alaska wilderness.
No, I mean, natural or supernatural, it doesn't really matter. You're going to get ripped to shreds.
Yeah, like incredible nature, but you don't want to be stuck there.
So. Or as Sarah J. Maas would say, torn to ribbons.
Yes.
Bloody ribbons.
Absolutely shredded to ribbons.
Shredded to ribbons.
Gross.
Oh, Tamlin.
Yeah.
Oh, Tampon.
And his claws.
Yeah, his claws.
As I was reading that book, I kept wondering how it, like, I tried to picture
it. Is it from your fingers, or is it like Wolverine?
Because she always talked about, like, peeking out, starting to peek out of his skin. I don't know.
I think it has to be fingertips.
Yeah.
Because it'd be so weird if it were like Wolverine. Like, natural animals don't have that.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, and then, like, what the pads of his fingers would be like Binks's
like
toe beads.
Paws, yeah. Yeah. Well, when oh my God, this is derailing. But when he's in
I love it.
that form, doesn't he run on all fours?
Yes.
So it would make sense.
Yeah, so he has toe beads.
Yeah. Okay.
Somehow we always end back on
Yeah.
Avatar. So welcome
We're
to
back
our
again.
Avatar podcast.
Let's start a spin-off where it's just fantasy
Honestly,
discussions.
we could.
We could. Yeah.
I love it. I love
bad.
it.
Okay. So anyway, energy vortexes. There apparently are two kinds. One can be very positive, one can be very negative. It's determined by the direction in which the energy flows. So I can't remember which is which, but one goes clockwise, one goes counterclockwise, and one is bad and one is good.
Interesting.
So, yeah, some negative ones that they mentioned. There's one in this Alaska wilderness. There's one off the coast of Japan in the Devil's Sea, and also on Easter Island, where all those big moai are. So, yeah, kind of interesting. And then I looked up the Devil's Sea, and it just had a really quick little tidbit. So it said that the conqueror Kublai Khan, the fifth great Khan of the Mongol Empire, the grandson of Genghis Khan, had tried to make inroads into Japan in 1274 and 1281 AD. However, yeah, forever ago. However,
and like 1700s, that's forever ago.
Yeah.
Like 1200s.
1200. No. Yeah. 1200. That, yeah. Way
Past.
long ago. However, on both of his attempts, he failed to invade the country after losing his vessels and 40,000 crew members in this triangular area. So
it does sound like he kind of had it coming, but sorry for his guys.
Yes, exactly. And this area is similar geographically to the Bermuda Triangle. It's like on a fault or whatever, and a deep trench, whatever that causes. We have an episode about that.
I don't love a trench.
No.
I would opt out of a trench.
Yes.
What's it called? Thessalogamania or whatever, like fear of deep water.
Is that what it's called?
Wait, let me
Thessalogamania.
Stop! It's something like that. No, thalassophobia. Which
you were close.
Equally sounds kind of weird.
Yeah, it does. Okay.
I like mine better.
Yeah.
Thessalogamania. No, we already forget what it's called. Thalassophobia.
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 Thalassophobia. That's fear of deep water.
Deep water, yeah.
Okay.
It just reminded me talking about like the 13th century, which like funny thing to say in the first place. But it reminded me of this thing that was like, if you could be a samurai, a pirate, or a cowboy, which would you be?
Whoa. I don't know.
And also we're watching Shogun on Disney Plus, and it is so violent, but it's so good.
We started it creepy.
Yeah. It's
first
very
episode.
Yeah. Very eerie.
Yeah.
Which would you be?
Oh God. I wanted to say cowboy initially, but I feel like that would just be so terrible. But then all of them would. So
this is the funny thing. I feel like there was one more option, and now I'm not remembering what it was, but I was like samurai, obviously. I would just be like he. And he was like, really? You think like 16th century Japan was kind to women? And I was like, okay, well, if you're looking at it through, I'm like trying to suspend like gender, like norms at the time to be, I wouldn't be allowed to be a samurai, but like, it's so funny because when you think about it like that, you're like, no, I wouldn't be a cowboy. I'd be a saloon whore. Like, the options are not sick for women. Like, pirate, nah, you'd be some like hag.
Yeah.
Prostitute. You literally would be a prostitute in every single profile. But then I realized I actually wouldn't want to be a samurai. I'd want to be a ninja.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Ninja would be sick.
Mhm.
And then who's going to tell me I can't? Because I would just like
disappear.
Hi,
Exactly.
Ninja Star. Ninja Star.
Uh-huh.
Ninja Star.
No one could say anything to you.
No one could say shit. I would shink shink Kill Bill style.
Yep.
And I'd wear a cool all like latex outfit. Like leather, not latex. Latex was
then.
sorry. Whoa, latex. Sorry. Leather. We're gonna go leather. But like a patent leather, perhaps. Like Catwoman.
Okay. Yeah. I can see
I have a lot of specifications, but
I'll be a ninja if I can pick my outfit.
And no one is sexist towards me.
Yeah, there we go. Those are the conditions.
Anyway, sorry, just talking about Genghis Khan's
that's okay.
Descendants. I just had to ask.
Yep. So
good.
Yeah, they all passed away in the sea.
Bummer.
Yeah, bummer. Okay, so this was reportedly due to typhoons, but as they abandoned the plan to invade Japan, the Japanese believed that it was God who sent the typhoons to save them from their enemies. And then let's see, later they did find, like way down the line, they found wreckage of these ships, which seems pretty crazy that it lasted that long down there. I don't know how long wreckage sticks around, but
I don't know.
Yeah. So this is the more paranormal story of this area. It says that there were a lot of sightings in the sea of a mysterious lady sailing a vessel in the early 1800s. And it said that the vessel resembled the traditional Japanese equipment for burning incense. However, the destination and identity of the vessel still remain a mystery. So
that's so weird.
Yeah, it sounded like these were recorded stories from the way that they wrote it, but I don't know, just a mysterious lady.
Black girl. It's the Japanese black girl.
Yeah, or it's you.
I was like
in your ninja
outfit. So you can be a lady pirate.
Yes, exactly.
Successfully. That is really interesting. I was convinced you were going to say like a mermaid or a siren or something, and I got really excited, but I actually like that more. Like a ghosty pirate all by herself out there.
Right. Yeah. Who knows?
On a similar like recovered wreckage note, and wow, I'm really just tonight. Did you see that they think they may have found Amelia Earhart's plane?
No.
Yeah. They came across wreckage. Let me see if I can pull it up. It was from like a few weeks ago. And I don't know. This is from February 5th. Explorers think they found Amelia Earhart's long lost plane. Not everyone is convinced. A deep sea exploration company says it may have found the wreckage of her plane, reigniting a mystery that dates back to the famed pilot's disappearance in 1937. They have like information about her. Obviously, no trace of Earhart or her navigator, Fred Noonan, or the Lockheed Electra they were flying were ever found. But they released this like sonar image of what, I mean, you can see in the sonar image, I'll send you the article, but it's in the shape of an airplane. Like you can see the wings and like the tail of the plane as well. And it's on the Pacific seabed. I don't know if they say exactly where, but the CEO of this like deep sea company called Deep Sea Vision, says there's a good chance it could be the wreckage of her final flight, which is freaky.
Yeah.
The team said they spent 3 months combing roughly 13,000 square kilometers of ocean floor with a state-of-the-art submersible. And the result was this sonar image of something that was approximately 5,000 meters below the surface, which Romeo, the CEO, says is similar in size and shape to Earhart's plane. I can't say Romeo without thinking of my mom's dog.
I know, that was my first thought too.
Yeah. But what they say, and the reason why he's like, it could be her plane is, this is a quote from him: the twin vertical stabilizers in the back are very clear on the sonar image, and those are very distinctive of Earhart's aircraft. So
interesting.
very interesting. Yeah. I'm just scrolling through to see if they have any more information about where exactly it was. The object lies about 160 kilometers west of Howland Island. Let me see where that is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Central Pacific Ocean, about 1,700 nautical miles southwest of Honolulu. So it's about halfway between Hawaii and Australia.
Wow. That is the middle of
Really
nowhere.
cool. Middle of nowhere, but like
That's
so cool if they
yeah.
find it.
Yeah.
I don't know how would
Finally.
they go about recovering it though. It's so deep.
Yeah. Right.
But
I
I
don't
guess like
know.
robots, like submersibles could do that.
Yeah.
Robots. You know what I mean?
Robots.
Submersible
Robots.
crabs with the
Yeah.
robots on them.
Yes.
Technology, AI, buzzwords.
Yeah, we nailed it.
Anyway,
That's
sorry.
interesting.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done with my tangents.
No, I think that was kind of all I had, other than a quick
Love it.
mention of a positive vortex that's
Oh.
very notable is in Sedona, Arizona. And that is like, obviously there were native, like indigenous people that lived there, and it's a huge part of their culture and beliefs. And of course, it has been now like co-opted by new age people who go there for spiritual tourism, if you want to call it that. And those,
Or being white.
yeah, exactly, and rich.
Yeah.
And
Rich and
they,
white.
yeah. So there were like nice stories about spiritual experiences there, but it's like you're coming from LA for a weekend in
Always
Sedona.
LA.
Yeah. Because the article was in LA Times, and I was like,
Of course.
But
and then of course people flock there because of that LA Times article.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely beautiful. So it's like I would love to go there, but hopefully be respectful about it. But people say that you really can feel the energy at this place, and who knows if it's like suggestion.
I could use some of that.
But
but kind of who cares? I don't know. I mean, I also feel like there must be a way to visit it respectfully. Like, I don't know. I came across this TikTok. No, it wasn't on TikTok. It was on Reels, but it was originally a TikTok of this woman who is a potter, and she like does throws clay on a wheel, and she makes the most beautiful stuff. But she was like out walking around. I forget now where she was, but she was literally collecting different colored clay, like different colored rocks that she then took home and like soaked and like made clay, and then built these like beautiful vases. And people were like shitting on her in the comments, like, this isn't your native land, like you can't be taking that. And then like the two indigenous people in the comments were like, shut the fuck up. Like, we love to see this shit. Like, this is respecting indigenous culture by celebrating it and practicing it. Like, this is not appropriation. LOL to you guys sitting in your homes on stolen native land. Talking shit about this girl who's like trying to be in touch with the planet. Like, it was just so funny. So I don't know. I think like you and I both, I think, try at least to be like super aware of that kind of stuff. And like, at least if we are appropriating something, to be like conscious about it. But I don't know. I kind of like that gave me a different perspective on it. And I'll just plug, I'm doing, Coursera offers a free Indigenous Canada course, which is so fascinating. So if you do live in North America, it covers a lot of like US territory as well. So highly recommend that. It's on Coursera. It's free. And it's offered through, I think, the University of Alberta. Cool. But anyway, it's just like changed my kind of perspective on a lot of that stuff. And that's also part of why I'm like, okay, I can't say the SKINWARS word anymore. So we're switching to flesh pedestrians to be respectful. But it's so interesting to me.
Yeah. And it's history that we really brush over, even though 100%. It is so essential to our country. I mean, and Canada. I obviously don't know it as much as the US, but
It's very similar. I mean, it is really very similar. And in some ways, like, more intense here because Canada eventually, and like, not to like give a history lesson at the end of this episode, like Canada eventually, the Indigenous people living in Canada, what is now Canada, were at a certain point fending off American pioneers and the governments of Europe. So they were like fighting this like two-front war that they could never win because they were heavily manipulated and culturally just they were tied by like legal agreements that they were not culturally something they were comfortable with or knew anything about. So just got fucking swindled. But anyway, very interesting. So if you are going to go visit a positive energy swirly, be respectful about it, and maybe don't go visit the negative ones, because why would you do that?
Except Easter Island, I would love to see that, but
that's true.
It's, I don't know.
Is the whole thing an energy vortex?
I don't know. They said Easter Island. Maybe it's a specific part, but it's not a huge island, so maybe it could be. Yeah.
Shit.
And it is mysterious over there, so.
It's very mysterious over there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, fingers crossed that this recording recorded. We're going to find out soon.
This episode is going to be like an hour and a half long.
It is literally an hour and a half long. Okay, guys. Or you're welcome, because we're going on hiatus now. So we will be back with a new episode in about a month on April 19th. And we will be, a month-ish.
Yeah.
But that'll be our finale series for season 3.
Wow.
So buckle up, because we are doing reruns, which means we're not going to like reshare videos already recorded, but we're going to revisit some of our favorite topics over the past 3 seasons.
Yes.
I think inspired by Amy, because we were like looking through the old ones and she was like, I want to redo this topic. So that's what we're going to do. So if you have any preferences for what we cover, we haven't finalized anything. Shoot us a DM at Girls Gone Spooky on all socials, or an email at girlsgonespooky@gmail.com.
There we go.
And rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so other people can find our pod.
Yes.
Other like-minded spookies. And we'll see you in a few weeks. And until then, stay spooky.
Stay spooky. Bye.
Bye.